I don't think there's enough Powerade to get me through this review, man. I do not want to be here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to play Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. I don't know if you guys, I know this is a mix of wrestling and anime. There was a new Dragon Ball Z Kakarot DLC that came out on Friday. And I have not had any time to play it because I'm always busy with work, right? Like work. And when I'm not at work, I'm usually either at the gym or I'm sleeping. So it's one of the reasons why I've been inconsistent with videos. And I've told you guys this already. This isn't really new information. So one of my plans was I was hoping to stream Kakarot this weekend. But I haven't had any time to. Monday's usually the day where I have the most free time. So I was hoping to do that. But I have to do this. And there's still a small chance that after I finish this review, I may stream again to just play Kakarot for a couple hours. But that's, probably more on the unlikely side. So when I tell you guys I don't want to be here and there's something else I want to do, I mean it. Because I really don't want to be here. I know that there's probably going to be a good amount of ranting. I'm going to try not to. Because I am pretty worn out from the gym earlier. I'm pretty tired. But I just know there's going to be something that pisses me off. No matter if someone says something in the chat, or just thinking about Raw in general. Because honestly, you would forget, if you didn't watch this show tonight, or even if you did, there's a good chance that you would forget that WWE has a pay-per-view this Sunday. Hell in a Cell. Hell in a Cell is this Sunday. And there are 2 Hell in a Cell matches confirmed for right now. We have Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns versus Rey Mysterio, which I'll talk about in a little bit. Since I didn't do a SmackDown review, I'll talk about a little bit of SmackDown on tonight's podcast for a couple of minutes. But everything, you would completely forget that we have Hell in a Cell this Sunday. We don't have any woman Hell in a Cell matches this year, but you would completely forget that there was a preview this Sunday because of how bad this show was tonight. None of us are talking about Hell in a Cell. None of us are talking about any of that. None of us are talking about any of that. The only thing people are talking about is the re-debut of Eva Marie. And it's not like any of us should be surprised that this is the big topic of conversation. We all knew that this was going to be the topic of conversation. We've seen this for weeks. Right? It was confirmed to us last week that the debut was going to be this week on Raw, but we've been waiting for this for weeks because we knew, or most of us with a brain knew it was going to be bad. And it was bad. It was not good. It was worse. And I can't believe it was actually worse than I expected. You guys see the review title that I put for tonight's stream. WWE has entered back into the Divas era. They have entered the Divas era once again, and that is sad. Over the last 6 years, since the Sasha Banks and Bayley match from Brooklyn, back at NXT in 2015, WWE has done, or at least pioneers like Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch and Bayley and Asuka, they have led the way to such a huge increase and significance and importance of women's wrestling, getting it all the way to the main event of WrestleMania 2 out of the last 3 years, right? Ronda Rousey, Charlotte, and Becky main eventing WrestleMania 35, no matter how disappointing that main event was. And then Sasha and Bianca Belair earlier this year at WrestleMania 37 on night 1. And they've done so much. They've sacrificed all of this just for women's wrestling to get back to being important. Some people actually saw it as equal to the men. They've main evented pay-per-views, main evented shows, had big moments. I'm not going to go through them all, but you guys know those big moments. But ever since WrestleMania, the women's division has been on a huge decline. And it's not just because Sasha Banks isn't there. I'm not going to, say, oh, it's because Sasha Banks isn't there. It's maybe one of the reasons, of course. You guys know I always say Sasha's the best in the world. But it's because ever since WrestleMania, WWE's care for women's wrestling has fallen flat on its face. The women aren't getting enough time. Bianca and Bayley on the build to WrestleMania Backlash, no matter how much I could complain about Bianca Belair, right? One thing that I can't blame her for is how much time she got. Her and Bayley would only get about 3 or 4 minutes on SmackDown to tell their story, which there was no story at all as a result. You get Carmella and Liv Morgan having 5-minute matches, sometimes even less than that. And then the overall care of the women's division has been treated as a complete joke. And I feel like, outside of what we saw with Eva Marie tonight, that was the biggest thing. That was the biggest takeaway. It wasn't anything going on with the WWE Championship and Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre preparing for the Hell in a Cell match this Sunday. Had nothing to do with RK Bro or the Raw Tag Team Championships. Had nothing to do with what's going on with the United States Championship, which I don't even know if that was even featured on tonight's show. The biggest takeaway is that the women's division is a complete mess and is going back to the Divas era. The treatment of all the women on this show, there's nobody special. There's nobody that you give a crap about. Everybody's treated like a joke. Let's go through all these storylines before we get to Eva Marie, right? Alexa Bliss and Shayna Baszler. Shayna Baszler, one of the biggest badasses in the history of NXT. Held the NXT Women's title for 400 plus days. Treated like a complete joke on Monday Night Raw. Instead of already being at least a one-time Raw Women's Champion, she's never even won the title. She was outside of her tag team title reigns with Nia Jax, which really weren't that special. She's done absolutely nothing. She's lost match after match due to nonsense like freaking fire and pyro. She was pinned by fucking Reginald, a guy who's not even a full-time wrestler. A guy who shouldn't even be fighting in the women's division. A guy who gets more care and more attention and more TV time in the women's division than some of the most talented people in that company, like Naomi, for example. And then last week, in one of the worst main event segments of the modern day era on Monday Night Raw, we saw Shayna Baszler running from a fucking puppet. A fucking puppet. She was nowhere to be seen tonight. And now you have Alexa Bliss at the beginning of Raw. And even though I like Alexa Bliss for the most part, the way she's been booked has not, demonstrated that she's this all-powerful being that, is supposed to be as powerful as the Fiend. Supposed to be the new Fiend, causing havoc in the women's division. Her booking has been bad. And you have Alexa Bliss standing there to start Monday Night Raw talking about how she put her freaking puppet Lily in a timeout. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. And that's only one of the awful storylines in the women's division on Raw. You have the women's tag team title scene, which is a complete joke, right? Nobody cares about Natalya and Tamina as women's tag team champions. The only reason why they are the tag team champions right now is because we got tired of seeing them on Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. It's not like we had a desire to see Natalya and Tamina. They've done nothing with the women's tag team championships since they won them. There's not one meaningful match or moment that I can remember from that team since they won the women's tag team titles. And now you have them feuding with Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke, and I have zero care or desire for it. Nothing about it is appeasing to me. I have no interest in it, no matter what kind of story they want to tell. Then move on to the Raw Women's Division and the Raw Women's Championship, right? Should I say more? Charlotte and Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley is a complete joke on Monday Night Raw. She is a far cry from the Rhea Ripley in NXT. And at some point, I am going to make that video, or we'll do that stream where we're going to look back at Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair from NXT and talk about why and how WWE has fucked them up in their presentation on the main roster. But Rhea Ripley, she's a far cry from where she was in NXT. And nobody, nobody wants to see Charlotte as champion again, but yet she's still being shoved down our throats here in 2021. Rhea can't cut a promo. Charlotte is uninteresting. What else is there to be said? And that is your main feud for the Raw Women's Championship. And we're all waiting for Becky Lynch to come back. And, you know, our guess is that Becky's going to be most likely on Raw until at least the WWE draft. And now I get the worry that even if Becky comes back and she could put some spark, some life into this Raw Women's division, we're just going to be forced to get Becky versus Charlotte at SummerSlam. Because I'm pretty sure if I had to put a gun, if you had to stick a gun to my head right now, I think Charlotte's winning that title this Sunday. This show is a complete and utter joke. And then, last but not least, the Eva Marie trash. Why is she back? Why? You release talent like Ruby Riott just to bring in Eva Marie? What value does Eva Marie bring to that women's division? She came back tonight with her pink hair, right? I'll say this. The only comment I'll give Eva Marie is she looks in fantastic shape. She's in fantastic shape. She's ripped. She got her, 6-pack abs. She looked great as in physical condition. But everything else about her was terrible. She came out, at least her entrance is a little bit shorter than what I remember, but she came out tonight with Piper Niven, who you guys should know if you guys watch NXT UK. I know not everybody does, but for those who do watch NXT UK, you guys should know her. But the Raw commentary team had no idea who the fuck she was. They had no idea who she was. And then you bring in Piper Niven. She's supposed to be, I guess, Eva's bodyguard, right? And instead of her having her own identity, she's wrestling for Eva Marie. That is legit the gimmick that she has. She's not even named by her NXT UK name. The commentators are acting like they've never seen her before, so they're just insulting any intelligence that any fan has that watch NXT UK. It's like they're telling you, oh, NXT UK, that's not canon. It's like for an anime, if say you watch Dragon Ball, for my Dragon Ball fans out there, right? For those who've seen Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, and Dragon Ball Super, those of you guys who have watched Dragon Ball GT, it's a sequel. It's a direct sequel to DBZ, but it's not part of the main canon. It's not part of Akira Toriyama's original story, right? So most people, they may mention DT, but all the time people say, "Oh, that's not canon," so they don't really care about it as much. So basically, WWE's telling you here that NXT UK is not canon. I saw Saul Monster tweet this. Imagine if Walter, right? You guys should know who Walter is. The NXT UK champion, absolutely fantastic at what he does. One of the best wrestlers in the entire company. There are so many Walter matches that you could go back and watch. So many of them are bangers. It's like if Walter debuted on Raw or Smackdown tomorrow, right? He lost the NXT UK championship and he made his debut on Raw or Smackdown. All right, and then he appears and nobody knows who he is. They just discredit everything he did in NXT UK. He has no identity, nothing. Imagine them doing that to Walter. That's what they did to Piper Niven. She's not a fantastic wrestler or anything like that. And I'm not trying to disrespect her. She's nowhere close to the level of a Walter. But the thing about it is, the fact that you have her come out and you have the commentators acting like they've never seen her before, it's disrespectful to NXT UK. It's disrespectful to any fan that watches that show and enjoys that product. Like, how are you going to insult our intelligence like that? There was no need to do that. No need. It's one thing if you called her by her name, right? And then you maybe explain not everybody may not be familiar with her because not everybody watches NXT UK. But the fact that you acted like you've never seen her before is insulting to the fans and it's insulting to your audience. It's insulting to her. It's insulting to Triple H and what he's trying to build with NXT and NXT UK. What's the point? What are you doing here? And then you have her come out and she buries Naomi in less than 3 minutes. 3 minutes. Naomi, of all people. Somebody that we want to see succeed on Monday Night Raw. Somebody that I've been proclaiming should win Money in the Bank. Or should turn heel and join the Roman Reigns Tribal Chief faction. Somebody that I want to see fighting for women's titles. Somebody that was trending last year. Hashtag Naomi deserves better. Because so many people recognize how good Naomi is and they want better for her. But instead, you bury Naomi in 3 minutes to somebody that you had the commentators not even know who she is. And then what's worse, at the end of it all, you have Eva Marie stand out there for 3 minutes, do nothing, and she grabs a mic and she announces the winner of this match is Eva Marie. She didn't step into the ring for a second. Didn't even step in the ring. So not only does Piper Niven have no identity, not only is Naomi buried beyond repair at this point, not only is Eva Marie not wrestling, but you have Eva Marie claiming wins for matches she had nothing to do with. This is the gimmick you brought Eva Marie back? Because remember, Eva Marie was signed at the beginning of the year. We've known for months, for well over half a year, that Eva Marie was coming back. It wasn't until about 2 months ago, that they finally said, oh, Eva's going to be on Raw. And they started hyping her return. You had every single week, you had those terrible video packages. All that garbage. Every single week, you had Eva Marie. Evolution. Her talking about how she wants to inspire other people. All this. People talk about, is she going to be babyface? Is she going to be heel? Is she going to wrestle? Is she going to be a manager? All this nonsense just for her to come back and have somebody else wrestle on her behalf who you haven't given any identity to, just for her to claim wins for herself for shit she didn't do. This is what you brought Eva Marie back for. But you release somebody as talented as Ruby Riott. Somebody like Ruby Riott who had the potential to be a tag team champion. Somebody who had the potential to be potentially a women's champion on Raw or SmackDown. You release somebody like that to bring in somebody that you don't even have wrestling at the moment. What was the fucking point? Why? Why did you do this? Why did you waste our time? There's no way. There's absolutely no way there's people back there working for this company and think this is good stuff. No, I can't. I really can't understand that. I don't. There has to be something else going on backstage with WWE. Some kind of agenda, something that we don't know. Because there is no way there's people back there getting paid to book this kind of crap. Because this not only hurts the show, it hurts the entire women's division. It's a slap in the face to people like Sasha Banks and Asuka and Bayley, who have put everything on the line to see the women's division gain spotlight. For those women superstars to be viewed and recognized as superstars. But instead now they're being recognized as divas again. That's really the vibe I'm getting. Because you have garbage like Eva Marie who have done nothing for the advancement of the women's revolution. Nothing at all. But she has the absolute audacity to come and call herself EVALUTION, right? And think she's adding value of this show. How long till Eva Marie is fighting for the Raw Women's Championship? Or Piper is fighting for the Raw Women's Championship on behalf of Eva Marie? How long till we get that garbage? Because there's not many people in that Raw Women's division anyway. What? You have Alexa Bliss, Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, Naomi. You have Mandy Rose. You have Dana Brooke. Most of those names are garbage anyway and not booked correctly. And then what? You have your Rhea Ripley, you have your Charlotte, and then Becky Lynch whenever she comes back, and Asuka. How long do they have Eva Marie walk through all that competition to get to the Raw Women's Championship? Because that's what I'm very, very nervous about at this point. Because what we saw today was an absolute atrocity. It was an atrocity. Naomi deserves way better than that. And Eva Marie, if that's what you brought her back for, you should be ashamed of yourselves. You really should. Because you clearly don't know what's best for your company in 2021. You don't. Just another example of why Vince needs to go. I really can't believe that this is what WWE's doing. Like, I at least expected, maybe if Eva wrestles, she gets a couple moves in, she does something Or maybe Piper or whoever was going to be her, her bodyguard would at least be wrestling with their own identity and not wrestling for Eva actually. Actually wrestling for Eva. While she says on the outside it does nothing. There's really no way that's what you're doing. Because remember, they done this with Eva in 2016. The wardrobe malfunctions when they would do almost anything to keep her from actually wrestling on Smackdown. And until she, went down to NXT. And she wasn't bad at NXT, but she wasn't anything special. But you're seriously going back to that 2016 mentality with Eva Marie? Are we seriously doing this? What is the point of bringing her back if this is what you need, if this is what you want to do? I don't get it at all. And it's just shameful that WWE doesn't understand the fucking error of their ways. This is not going to bring the ratings up at all. It's going to do absolutely nothing for the ratings. But yet WWE thinks somehow that this is good, that this is entertaining. When it's not. When it's absolutely not. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. It's sad. It really is sad. So I'm going to look at the chat real quick. Before we get into Raw tonight, I do want to talk a little bit about SmackDown really quick. But as always, man, this is the Legit Shoot Podcast. I am your host, FitzWugTV. Thank you guys as always for joining me. Hopefully you guys are staying safe and staying healthy. I'm going to look into the chat really quick so you guys have anything to say. Give me to scroll through. Yeah, we'll Charlotte and freaking Rhea Ripley with their pull-apart brawl tonight. What the fuck was Charlotte wearing in that segment? No idea. Yeah, and Asuka's still buried. Yep, I see that. Yep, Asuka's still buried. She lost to Rhea Ripley again. Yeah. Thank you, Real ESJ, for joining us, bro. Good to see you. Yeah, I saw some cloud. I saw some cloud trying to compare Charlotte's busted nose to when Becky had her nose broken. It's not even a comparison. Who the hell actually cares about that? And what the hell was Charlotte actually wearing? I don't know. I don't know what to tell you guys, bro. I don't know if Charlotte has the same. I don't know if Charlotte has the same person dressing her that Seth Rollins does, but still, whoever is picking Charlotte's outfits, right? They gotta go. That shit was atrocious. All right, yeah. So I'm caught up on the chat. So I'll talk about SmackDown really quick. So SmackDown, like I said, hopefully eventually I'll be able to get back to doing normal SmackDown reviews, right? It's just my schedule's just fucked up. So I'll just quickly mention it on Raw. But look, Roman Reigns and Rey Mysterio being announced for Hell in a Cell. First of all, I'm not saying the match isn't going to be good, but the fact that match is being, looked at as a Hell in a Cell match, that's the way the match is being booked, it doesn't make sense. After 1 week of build, they haven't even been feuding for a month. At least if there was maybe 1 month, of this story going, and there was 1 match before it, maybe you could say it deserves to be a Hell in a Cell match. But, it's not. It's not. There's been nothing that's been done with these two. They legit started their feud last week on SmackDown, and all of a sudden, you have it being a Hell in a Cell match. Rey Mysterio legit said in his promo, last week that even if he knows he can't win, he wants to get payback for his son. So he's already admitting defeat before the actual match. He's just fighting now because he wants vengeance for his son, which makes sense. Which makes perfect sense. But you have freaking, now you have it as not only a Hell in a Cell match, but it's for the Universal Championship. Rey never said anything about wanting to go after the Universal Championship. He just wanted revenge for his son. And now, you're probably going to have Rey cut the promo on Friday talking about, oh, me winning the Universal Championship would be the ultimate payback, and especially this late in my career, blah, 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 this, blah, 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 that. But there's nothing you could say that makes sense for this match to not only be a Universal Championship match, but also it being a Hell in a Cell match. I'm not saying the match is going to be good. It's not going to be good. I expected. Rey works very well with big man, and Roman works very well with people smaller than him because Roman can use his power and Rey gets to, do his counters and show up his athleticism and his agility. It should be really good. It's good, It's similar styles to what we saw with Drew versus Kofi last week. But it doesn't make any sense at all for this match to be not only inside Hell in a Cell, but for the Universal Championship. Excuse me. Excuse me. Like what are we doing here? Like, I watched the match and I expect it to be good, but I just don't have the care and interest in it because I know Roman's gonna win. And like I can see this being very much similar to what we saw with Brock Lesnar and Rey Mysterio a couple years ago when Brock was WWE champion on SmackDown. When Dominic interfered and he actually made you believe for a second. When they made you believe for a second that Rey could have actually won the championship when they did the double 619. But still, they did. But, still, it's the same thing here. I don't see Rey winning. There's nothing you could do that makes me believe that Rey's going to win. And it's just me being honest. It's just me being honest. So, yes, I'll enjoy the match, and we'll talk about it, of course, right here on the channel. Just to let you guys know, the Hell in a Cell review won't be live Sunday night, right, because I do have something to do on that night. It will most likely be Monday afternoon. So, just like we did last month with WrestleMania Backlash, you're probably going to get 2 reviews in one day. So, next Monday, you're probably going to get a Hell in a Cell review in the afternoon, and then later that night, you're going to probably get a Monday Night Raw review like we usually do. So just let you guys know that's probably going to be how things go next week. But I expect Rey and Roman to be good, but my care and desire for it isn't all the way there. Because I know Roman's going to win, and still, they haven't done enough with the story to make me actually care. But, like I said, as long as this all leads to Roman versus Cena at SummerSlam, like that's what we've been hearing, because most likely Cena would come back on the first live SmackDown with fans in July, and then that would set up the story from there for WrestleMania, or not WrestleMania, for SummerSlam, I'm all good. If this is like a 1 or 2 month side feud just to get us to SummerSlam, it's whatever. It's whatever. I would probably have Roman win at Hell in a Cell, and then maybe do another match with Cesaro if you want to at Money in the Bank. Honestly, if you didn't want Roman to defend at Money in the Bank, I'm not going to complain because Roman's at the level now where you don't even need him to defend at every single pay-per-view, but they still do it. And yes, it makes Roman look more dominant in the long run, but like I said, if they decide to not have Roman defend at Money in the Bank and just give him the month off and then give us more time to hype up a Cena and Roman match at SummerSlam, no complaints here from me. No complaints at all. But I will say this about SmackDown. They really, really, really need to put more care into the other superstars. It's a big complaint for me because as great as Roman is mainly because Vince and Paul Heyman put that level of care into him. If they put the same amount of care into everybody else that they did for Roman and his storyline, right? There wouldn't be problems. There wouldn't be problems with, SmackDown. SmackDown would be so much better. So much better. But they don't. It's not just the Roman show. It really isn't. And I love what they're doing right now with the Usos, right? Jay walked out on both his brother and Roman. So for right now, we don't know where Jay's alignment is. Because he's right in the middle. Because he became loyal to the tribal chief during the time that his brother wasn't there. But he's also loyal to his brother because that's his brother. That's his tag team partner, his twin. Right? They've been together forever. So I love that dynamic there. And then when, Jay went off on Roman, talking about like, that's my brother, right? You've been treating him wrong for the last year. And even though you're the tribal chief and the universal champion, I don't care about that. And even though you're going into the Hall of Fame one day, when you do, you're going to go in Hall of Fame as just a little bitch. I loved, Jimmy's promo on Roman. But then Roman, being that cocky heel, was able to turn the situation around and make Jimmy look like the evil guy. He felt like Jimmy was being selfish by coming back and trying to just take his brother back and put him in a situation where it would affect him negatively. The way they had Roman just look like an evil, cocky prick, right? By trying to make everything look like it was Jimmy's fault. Making Jimmy look like the selfish guy because remember, before Jay became Roman's right-hand man, people were asking him, oh, which twin are you? And now Roman was looking at Jimmy saying, oh, you're trying to put your brother back into that same situation again. And then at the end of the segment, Jimmy's like, damn. And Jimmy just walked out because he took Roman's words to heart. This show how smart but how evil Roman is, that he would manipulate the situation like that. So it wouldn't look as bad on him. So I do love what they're doing with the Roman and the Usos storyline. Eventually, we know that the Usos will win the tag team titles, no matter if that's at Money in the Bank or at SummerSlam. But I love what they're doing right now with the Roman storyline with the Usos. And every week, I get more excited to see where it's going to go. But like I said, as great as that storyline is, I just wish they would put more care into other superstars like they do for Roman and his storylines. So, Liv Morgan beat Carmella. I was happy to see Liv Morgan get the win, but of course, this is classic 50-50 WWE booking. Definitely, they'll probably do a third match between these two either next week or, sometime in the immediate future. Because I do believe, most likely, that if, Bianca retains at Hell in a Cell, which I expect her to do when she defeats Bayley, I expect Carmella to probably be the next in line to challenge Bianca. And that would most likely be at Money in the Bank. Because I feel like, unless something big happens, the rematch between Sasha and Bianca, that's going to be taking place at SummerSlam, right? The biggest two places that would be likely for Sasha to return would be either on the July edition of SmackDown with fans in attendance, or at Money in the Bank. It's going to be one of those two. So I expect Sasha to be back here sometime in the next month. And, we get that rematch at SummerSlam. I don't know really what else to expect or what else they could do with Bianca until Sasha comes back. So I think it's most likely going to be Carmella because you really don't have anybody else built up at the moment. Maybe Liv Morgan, and that would be kind of good to see. But, hey, what up, Anthony? My bro. My former co-host Anthony's in the chat. I didn't even recognize you for a sec because it looks like you're on another YouTube account. But yes, Anthony, we are going to need a bigger boat. A bigger boat. Agent Vink, man, the greatest commentator in the history of Monday Night Raw, says nobody ever. But yeah, what else was I going to say? I was going to say something else, but I don't remember. I got distracted from Anthony. But yeah, that's what I expect. Bianca should defeat Bayley at Hell in a Cell. And then most likely you could do Bianca versus Liv or Bianca versus Carmella at Money in the Bank. And then, Sasha comes back, and you give us the rematch at SummerSlam. We're actually getting a crown match next week. So Baron Corbin, Shinsuke Nakamura, they've been feuding over Corbin's crown, which is kind of stupid if you ask me, but whatever. So next week on SmackDown, we're getting a crown versus crown match. So that it doesn't make sense to me because Corbin won the King of the Ring. But the thing about it is, I don't care because that was 2 years ago. It was 2 years ago back in 2019. I remember it because Sasha Banks returned with blue hair around that time, and she was feuding with Natalya and Becky Lynch during that time period. So I'm just like, it doesn't make sense because Corbin won the crown, but I don't care about it because it's been 2 years. We should have already had another King of the Ring tournament, by now. So why would I care about them fighting over a crown from 2 years ago? So I don't really care, but I don't know. We're getting a crown match this Friday. Another rematch that nobody cares about. I believe this week we're getting Big E and Kevin Owens versus Apollo Crews and Commander Aruz or Aziz, whatever his name is. So that's that. I'll say this: Apollo Crews has been fantastic as IC champion. Excuse me. And even though I would love to see Kevin Owens built up a little bit better to take that title from Apollo, look, Apollo has been great. And I'm not going to, say you need to rush him losing the title. Because Apollo's great, and he's doing a great job with that championship. He's elevated himself to a completely new level. Anthony, I didn't see what you said, bro. Anthony says, sum up Raw with one sentence. Well, read the title. Read the title. That's the way I would sum up Raw. Eva Marie has returned the Raw Women's Division back to the Divas era. That would be the way I would describe Raw, man. Anything else on SmackDown? I just want to get this through pretty quickly. The Ding Dong Hello segment, right? Cesaro returned to attack Cesaro returned to attack Seth Rollins through Bayley's Ding Dong Hello door on the set of her show, which is whatever, right? You guys knew Cesaro was going to come back to get payback on Seth eventually. And most likely, I don't know if it's been announced yet for Hell in a Cell this weekend, but I would expect us to get a Cesaro and Seth Rollins match to finally end their feud. So we'll see. We'll see if that's the case. Like I said earlier, I wouldn't mind seeing Cesaro beat Seth and then him getting another crack at Roman, potentially at Money in the Bank. But hey, at this point, I have no idea. Like I said, as long as we get Cena versus Roman, as long as we get Cena versus Roman at SummerSlam, I don't care what they do. I don't. But Cesaro did return to attack Seth, and then we got Bayley coming back. So I'll show you guys what happened there.
From bad to Bianca Belair. Tonight, Bayley is the one who's embarrassed. Last week, Bianca Belair said her face is the utter disrespect.
So you had Bianca Belair come out and just laugh. So the storyline between Bianca and Bayley going to Hell in a Cell is them laughing at one another. I have nothing else to say on that. Nothing. If you guys like Bianca's presentation as SmackDown Women's Champion right now, you are a complete and utter fool. Simple as that. Nothing else for me to say in terms of that. Nothing else. Is there anything else to talk about with Smackdown before we finally get into Raw? Because I'm so excited to talk about that. Anything else? Let me look. Montez Ford versus Chad Gable. It was a good little match, you know. I'm not minding this little side feud with the Street Profits and Gable and Otis. I don't, cause I like Otis. I like the intensity he's showing, and Chad Gable, when taken seriously, you know, the guy's a beast. So you need these side feuds in the tag team division. So that was that. So that's all I got to say on that. But yeah, let's talk about the rest of Raw, because I'm so excited to do so. So let's get into it. So the show started off with Alexa Bliss. She was in her playground. Not surprising that this started the show because, yes, Anthony, the SmackDown Women's Championship is about laughing. That is the actual, and I'm not messing around with that storyline when I say that. The storyline is about who can laugh more, right? Or not Sasha, because I couldn't imagine Sasha being put in this kind of garbage storyline. But the story between Bayley and Bianca is each week Bayley laughing at Bianca. Bianca takes it as disrespectful that Bayley would be laughing at her because there's nothing funny. So Bianca looks at disrespect. So Bianca this week decided that she would just laugh at Bayley back. It's bad. But yeah, back to Raw. So Alexa Bliss comes out, and you know, like I said, it kind of made sense for Alexa to start the show because last we saw was what happened between Shayna and Lily. Shayna wasn't on tonight's show, so we had no idea what happened to Shayna. We didn't know she had become a demon or become a puppet herself. We had no idea what had happened to Shayna Baszler. So Nia confronts Alexa. Alexa says that Lily was put in timeout. So I don't know when we'll see Lily come back, right? Maybe they're just saving the return for Lily for when we have live crowds, but still I'm just sitting there like, I don't really care. I never cared about this Lily stuff to begin with. And Alexa's sitting there talking, and then Nia Jax comes behind her. Now you guys know Alexa and Nia have history. Like, for example, having the worst women's WrestleMania match ever. Well, that's me being a little bit hard, but it's one of the worst WrestleMania matches in the history of the women's division. It's garbage. The match for WrestleMania 34 for the Raw Women's Championship is a horrific match. Horrific. But Nia talked about how her and Alexa were once friends and how she doesn't like how no matter what Alexa's now become, now she's been messing with her friends, talking about her tag team partner Shayna and Reginald. But Alexa got serious and she got out of her swing set as Nia issued a challenge for a match tonight. And Alexa said, challenge accepted, as she told Nia that they were never friends. So I did like a little bit of the intensity here from Alexa. I've been saying that I've been wanting to get behind this character, but they've done such a poor job since WrestleMania with Alexa's booking because they've spent every single week with her doing the same nonsense on Alexa's playground. And now, after nearly 2 months of this, now they want to start having Alexa back in the ring. You know, it's like the interest has faded, and especially after what they did with Lily and Shayna last week, there's a lot of people who just don't care anymore. So it's just, Anthony says, it was my 10-minute match during that 738-hour Mania. Yeah, what else from WrestleMania 34, Anthony, do you remember, right? I gotta find that clip. Because the WrestleMania 34, we did a review for that show. But the thing is, the channel from where all of our old reviews are, it's hidden. So if you ask Anthony, one of the most famous moments in the history of this podcast is, it comes out from that WrestleMania 34 review. So I'll let Anthony respond in the chat box. But still, it's just like I don't have the care, for Alexa like I did a couple months ago, right? And especially if you're gonna put Alexa in a match against Nia Jax of all people. Like, we know these two don't have good chemistry in the ring to begin with, and I there was no expectations for me going into this match, so it's just like, really, this is what we're doing. So it was like, ugh. But continuing with the women's division to start the show, we got a match with Charlotte Flair and Nikki Cross. The opportunity herself, the original influencer, had to, come out and start the show for us with the first match. And she went up against Nikki Cross, which we've seen Nikki, she's been able to take advantage of miscues from Charlotte and the Raw Women's Champion, Rhea Ripley, over the last couple of weeks. So I thought, this would be the week where, Nikki gets buried and sent back to catering. Because she's had success over the last couple of weeks against these two, but they haven't done anything to tell you that Nikki's going to be an actual contender for the Raw Women's Championship. So I was like, okay, this is going to be the week when, Charlotte, sadly sends Nikki back to catering. Instead, they do something even worse. So Rhea Ripley comes out, right? And you guys know what I've been complaining about Rhea for, weeks now. Her presentation on Raw has been absolutely horrific since she was called up to the main roster. So she sits at ringside, right next to the announce table, getting ready, or wanting to view the match, see how her opponent for this Sunday does. So we get the match. About 2-3 minutes into the match, Charlotte is, fighting Nikki at ringside, and she hits a fallaway slam on Nikki, and then she starts taunting Rhea Ripley. Mind you, since they're fighting on the outside of the ring, the referee's doing a 10 count. So while Charlotte is taunting Rhea Ripley, Nikki was able to recover and get back into the ring while Charlotte is taunting, doing her arm spread celebration. But it's not until about 9.5 that she actually sees, like, oh, the referee's counting. But by the time she goes to get back into the ring, it's already at the count of 10, and she gets disqualified. So, I don't complain. Like, I don't mind seeing Charlotte lose. You guys know how overrated I believe Charlotte is. But it's just retarded how WWE, made Charlotte look. This is somebody that's fighting for the Raw Women's Championship this Sunday. This Sunday. So this is the way you're going to make her look 6 days before the pay-per-view, and I'm supposed to make her look serious? Come on. This is what we're doing? If I'm a casual, and if I'm a guy talking to a new WWE viewer, I'm not going to tell them to go watch anything, relating to Charlotte Flair, unless it's a Charlotte versus Sasha Banks match, most likely. But anyway, still, if I'm a casual, why would I care about Charlotte Flair fighting for a Raw Women's Championship this Sunday on pay-per-view if she can't even pay attention to a simple 10 count and keep herself from getting disqualified? You guys see the logic behind that. Whether you like Charlotte or not, the way they booked her here is horrific. It doesn't make sense. So why should I care about somebody that can't even keep herself from getting disqualified in the most simple way? It wasn't like Charlotte was down for the count. It wasn't like she was hit in the back with a chair. She was taunting. How could you not hear the referee's 10 count going on in the back of your head? This is the kind of logic I'm talking about with this show. So afterwards, Nikki Cross is celebrating her win. Charlotte's unhappy, so she starts chasing down Nikki and, beats her down on the outside of the ring. She brings her back into the ring, and then Rhea hits Charlotte with a riptide from behind, gaining some momentum for this Sunday's match. I still don't even know if Rhea's a babyface or heel on this show. And she's been on the show now for 2 months. She's been holding the Raw Women's Championship now for about 2 months, and I still have no idea if she's a babyface or heel. Great job, WWE. Great job. Look, the only reason why I'm pulling for Rhea this weekend is not because, I like her, because WWE has absolutely wrecked her on the main roster. They have absolutely done everything to strip, what made her special in NXT. The only reason why I'm rooting for her is because I don't want to see Charlotte win. I know you guys don't want to see her win either. So, hell, I'm hoping for SummerSlam or, at least at SummerSlam that we could get Rhea versus Becky. That's my hope. Because we know Becky's going to come back. I'm willing to bet that Becky's going to be back before SummerSlam at this point. I expect her to be back before then. If not, maybe even Money in the Bank. But, I don't know. I don't want to see Becky versus Charlotte at SummerSlam again. I'm so sick and tired of seeing that match. Right? And if anything, I would rather just take Becky versus Charlotte versus Rhea. But I have this terrible feeling that Charlotte's going to win this Sunday at Hell in a Cell. That's my prediction. I'm hoping Rhea going to win, not because I want to see her remain champion, because she has not been presented well as a champion at all. But anybody being champion other than Charlotte is better. And I'm hoping that's what we get this Sunday. But a little bit later on in the show, we would be getting Rhea Ripley versus Asuka for the 10th millionth time. How many times? This is a problem with WWE, right? Rematch after rematch after rematch. How many times have we seen Rhea Ripley versus Asuka since WrestleMania? Think about this for a sec, people. We saw the match at WrestleMania. We saw it the night after WrestleMania in a Raw Women's Championship rematch. Then we saw the match, I think, the week before WrestleMania Backlash, if I'm correct, a third time. I think we got it tonight. So I think this is either the fourth or fifth time. Yeah, the fourth or fifth time we've seen this match since WrestleMania, since their initial encounter. So think about that. We've gotten this match about close to 5 times now, and Rhea pinned Asuka clean again tonight. Has Asuka even gained one victory over Rhea in all 4 or 5 of their matches? Has Asuka beaten Rhea once? I don't think so. I think Rhea's won all of those matches, and I think it was one where Charlotte calls a disqualification. But besides the point, you are burying Asuka. People want to be like, oh, even though she's no longer in the Raw Women's Championship scene, she's still Asuka. No, we're seeing Asuka buried, but before our very eyes. Rhea's beaten her now three times. And I believe all 3 times have been clean. So, what are we doing here? What was the point? Why are you making Asuka look like such a jobber when it comes to Rhea Ripley? What's so special about Rhea Ripley that Asuka can't beat her? I don't get it, how you can treat Asuka with this level of disrespect. Just casually have her lose to freaking Rhea Ripley. Just casually. Put no care, put nothing behind it. So after the match, of course, right after Rhea gets the win, she's celebrating and she gets attacked from Charlotte. Like I said, Charlotte was wearing some awful, I don't know, almost looked like a biker gang outfit. Really, it had like the orange flames and all that. I didn't like the way it looked at all. So she comes out with the outfit and then she starts attacking Rhea, and then it turned into a pull apart brawl. Adam Pearce and a bunch of WWE officials came out, right? Somehow during the scuffle, it looked like Rhea hit Charlotte in the nose, so it looks like Charlotte has a bloody nose. It doesn't look broken, but it's definitely bloody. And WWE officials separated them, and that was the end of the segment. I'm looking, and I get it. You're trying to protect both women, right? But still, I don't have any care for this match going to Sunday. I just don't want to see Charlotte win. That's the main reason why I'm watching. Plus, I got to review it. I don't have any care or desire to see this feud. But if Rhea wins, yay. Because Charlotte's not going to be champion. If Charlotte wins, mercy on all of our souls, because we're going to have to hear Shaw talk about, I am the 13-time woman champion. I have no excitement for that. And I think that's what's going to happen this Sunday anyway. Anthony says, hey man, at the end of the day, isn't Rhea blonde? So I know where this is coming from. For those of you guys who are long listeners to the podcast, there, especially for if you guys were there back when me and Anthony were doing the show together, we know that Vince McMahon has a blonde agenda. So when it comes to superstars that are blonde, it doesn't matter if you're good or not. You are pushed just because of your hair color. Charlotte Flair is the number one member of Vince's blonde list. That's the reason why she's the 13-time women's champion. Back in the day, like 2018, when Alexa was being shoved down our throats as the goddess, right? When she was the Raw Women's Champion, and they had her beating Sasha and Bayley in matches that Alexa shouldn't have been winning, right? We used to always sit out and complain about Alexa being part of the blonde agenda. Even Carmella, when she was the SmackDown Women's Champion, she wasn't a very good SmackDown Women's Champion. It wasn't really until the end of her reign that we kind of finally started saying, oh, she can actually wrestle. It's because WWE books her so poorly that they made her into a SmackDown Women's Champion that we didn't really care about. So, and the reason why Carmella held on to that championship for, how long she did was because of her being blonde. So, still, when it comes to the Flair or to the blonde agenda, Charlotte's number one, Alexa number two, right? And then you can put whoever you want there. But Anthony, in terms of Rhea Ripley, I believe Rhea's a blonde. I know Rhea dyes her hair, here and there, but I believe she is a blonde. But it's not even that Rhea Ripley sucks. It's her presentation sucks. Rhea was rushed into the Raw Women's Championship, and when they gave her the title, they had done such a poor job of establishing her identity that she's been when I look at her, I don't see anything like the Rhea Ripley from NXT. I just see a watered down version of that character where everything special was taken away from the character. That's what I see when I see Rhea Ripley. Plus, especially the second that Rhea Ripley, came to the main roster, she forgot how to cut a promo. Like, Rhea can't cut promos on the main roster for some reason. Like, every time she has a mic to her throat, I want to mute my TV and just, read the captions. Like, it's that bad. So, I'm not going to say Rhea Ripley's booking is because she's a blonde. I just think her presentation is poor and needs a complete overhaul. Anthony says, in my opinion, Carmella is a better wrestler than Flair and Bliss. Anthony, I'm going to be honest with you. You are 100% right. You probably are. I would probably agree with you on that. And that is a big hot take. There's a lot of people not going to agree with that. But go back and watch Sasha Banks versus Carmella from TLC a couple months ago. For those of you guys that was Carmella's best match ever on the main roster. In the Thunderdome with no fans, with the best female wrestler on the planet. Go back and watch Sasha vs. Carmella at TLC. A match that nobody cared, or not, no, I'm not going to say nobody cared about, but not many people cared about because it was a filler feud for Sasha. You knew Sasha was going to win the match. But it is a spectacular match. Spectacular. Go back and watch that match. And, I'm going to say it. I don't believe I'm going to say it. Compare that match, and there's a huge butterfly in my room. What the fuck? What? Get the fuck. Oh. Bro, now just get the. Like, why can't you just stay outside? I didn't kill it, but I don't know where it is. I opened my door, so hopefully it just flies out when I'm not looking, and that will be that. But I hate flies and things in my room. Like, if you want to be somewhere else in the house, fine, but don't come in my space. Fuck. That pisses me off. And it wasn't one of those small butterflies. It's one of those big ones. Like, what the hell? And why does this always happen when I'm recording? That's when you want to make your damn appearance. Fucking hell. Golly, damn freaking butterfly. Where was I? I was talking about something. Oh, yeah, I was talking about Sasha and Carmella. So, like I said, I would honestly compare that Sasha and Carmella match up against most. I would say most. I don't know if it was look, I'm not a bug expert, Anthony, but it was one of those big ones. It was a big one. You know, if it was a small one, I would have paid attention too much to it, but it was a big one. So maybe it got, I don't even know how it got in here, but whatever. But back to what I was saying. I would compare. I'm not gonna say the Sasha versus Carmella match was better than all of the Charlotte matches, but I would compare it to a lot of those Sasha and Charlotte matches. Look, I swear, was that shit just flying behind me? Anyway, but the Sasha vs. Carmella match is easily Carmella's best match. Easily Carmella's best match on the main roster. And I would compare it against a lot of those Sasha versus Charlotte matches. Because that's how good that match at TLC a couple months ago was. If you don't believe me or you need a reminder, go on Peacock. You guys can find it. It was 4 months ago. Or not 4 months. It was 6 months ago back in December. Go watch it. Go watch it. It's a great match. And so, Anthony, your take of Carmella being a better wrestler than Charlotte and Alexa. She's definitely a better wrestler than Alexa, right? Against Charlotte, hey, I'm not going to disagree with you on that one because you guys know how overrated I think Charlotte is in the ring. Carmella is actually pretty damn good when she's serious. When she's not being booked like trash. Because, look, Carmella's had some really good matches. You know, Carmella versus Charlotte and Becky from SummerSlam 2019, I believe? No, not 2019, 2018. Yeah, so Carmella versus Becky and Charlotte from SummerSlam 2018. Carmella versus Bayley. It was on a random edition of Smackdown, I think, 2 years ago, which was 2019. It was back when Bayley was the Smackdown Women's Champion, right? They had a really good match on TV. And then the match, of course, with Sasha from TLC. They also had a good match at the Royal Rumble earlier this year, but that match at the Royal Rumble wasn't as good as the match that they had at TLC. So, yeah, like I said, I do think Carmella is very underrated in the ring. Yo, hold on. BS1, I don't know if you're new to the channel. Let me know if you're new, because I don't recognize your name. I always love when new people come into the chat. But BS1, let me see what you said here. BS1 says, Raw is brought to you by Crack. When you think you're doing good, but when you're not, try Crack. Use promo code EVA. You can get 3 rocks for free. Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. This shit's kind of hilarious. Raw is brought to you by Crack. When you think you're not doing good, but you're not. Oh, no. Raw is brought to you by Crack. When you think you're doing good, but you're not, try Crack. I liked it. Oh, you just joined. All right, welcome to the family, bro. You're in the right place. You're in the right place. This is the place to be, man. So glad you're here. But that shit was hilarious. I love how you put the little promo code EVA. That's hilarious. But anyway, let me see. What does ROFL mean? I don't know what that means. But anyway, JD says, I actually don't think Carmella should be losing right now. She got a rubber feud, but they're not using the rub like they should. I like seeing Liv Morgan win. And it's probably going to be, Carmella versus Bianca and Money in the Bank anyway. Just to keep Bianca busy till Sasha returns. So, whatever, right? JD also said earlier that, why now? Why didn't you listen when people tried to tell you this months ago? Now you have to deal with them. But enough of me ranting. Of course, but JD's clearly talking about the Bianca and Rhea situation. Like I said, I've been saying this for all fucking year. I've been saying this since January. So at this point, I've gotten to the point when it comes to the Bianca and Rhea Ripley situations with their presentations on Raw and SmackDown that I will remind you guys my thoughts on the matter, but I just don't care. I'm not going to stress myself arguing with people about it when I've been consistent on this matter all fucking year long. And if you agree with me and you see the problem, great. If you don't agree with me, you're just an idiot. Because anybody with a brain or anybody that knows these characters and how they were booked in NXT, right? For anybody who knows these characters from where they were in NXT, they would know that the way they've been presented on Raw and SmackDown is a complete and utter joke. So at this point, I'm just like, it's whatever. It's honestly whatever to me. Right, I don't have anything else to really say. And like I said, I'm going to do an extra video eventually where we just talk about this way more in depth. Because like I said, we're going to spend like an hour or two just going back and watching and reacting to old Bianca and Rhea Ripley clips from NXT and comparing them to the main roster. All right. Anthony says, bro, I need Anthony back. Bro, I need you back here on the podcast with me. I need you back as my co-host. Like, come on. Anthony says Bliss sucks. Just watch her segment. Shit is played out. I assume you're talking about the gimmick with Alexa's Playground. Bro, I agree with you. They've been doing the same shit for 2 months. Like, when they first started the Alexa Bliss stuff, I was hoping, that they would, take it in a unique direction where she actually would, use her fiend tactics on the entire women's division and then slowly make her way back up the ladder. And maybe they can make something interesting in terms of the Raw Women's Championship, but they've done nothing like that. So I do agree with you that it's become played out when it comes to Alexa Bliss. Anthony asks, where is Bray? Bray is, I believe, last I heard, he was going through like a mental health crisis, right? That's what I believe. But I don't know the full story. It's like the same thing with Keith Lee. You hear that Keith Lee's injured and all this other stuff, but they don't give you any details on it. I don't know. JD says they're saving Bray off screen, apparently. What are they saving him for? Let's be like, honestly, what are they saving Bray for? They've already buried the Fiend character, and they've given whatever remains of that character to Alexa Bliss, and they're not even doing a good job of that. So, at this point, like, I don't really even know what to say when it comes in terms to Bray Wyatt. Whenever he does come back, which I do expect him to come back, I don't know what you do with him. I don't know if you give him something completely different. I don't know if you transition back to the Eater of Worlds, right? But at this point, I don't know, really, and I don't really care because you've done such a bad job with Bray Wyatt. When you talk about the worst booked superstars of all time, Bray Wyatt is very high on that list in terms of potential. Where this guy was and where this guy is in terms of his career, man, look. But it's just terrible. I have no idea It's just terrible. It's just terrible. Yeah. But in terms of JD, what you said, JD says like I'm running out of energy at this point talking about it. I agree with you. I'm like I don't even talk about the Bianca and Rhea Ripley situation on social media that much at this point, because at this point either you agree with what I've been saying with it all year, or if you don't, and if you don't, I just look at you as an idiot, because I'm not gonna waste time ranting, about Bianca and Rhea Ripley anymore. I'm done. I don't have the energy for it. I barely have energy to make YouTube videos these days, right now, because with what I'm doing with my internship and work and stuff like that. I just don't have the energy to sit there and do it. If you take the way Rhea Bianca are presented on Raw and SmackDown as champions right now is good, you're a fucking clown. And I'm not gonna really say anything more to that. You can go back. There's a playlist on the channel. You can go back and watch all the Raw and SmackDown reviews I've done this year, and you'll see how consistent I've been on this matter. I don't care anymore. I'm done. It's out of my hands. I'll just say this. Like I said last week, if Sasha comes back and she beats Bianca at SummerSlam, sure, I'll be excited about it. But I don't want to see Sasha win that title if she's not holding it past WrestleMania. If you have Sasha get payback on Bianca at SummerSlam and she loses at WrestleMania, there's no point in giving Sasha the title. All right? I don't care. I don't care for it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. I would rather Sasha lose to Bianca again at SummerSlam if it meant that Sasha would finally get her first WrestleMania victory at WrestleMania 37. That's my stance on the matter. All right. Anthony says, I'm down to do an updated top 10 favorite wrestlers podcast one day. We may have to do that. Me and Anthony had some great debates about this back in the day, so we may have to do an updated list. You guys, for the most part, you guys should know my list, or at least have an idea of what my list would look like, because I've talked about it in the past. Oh, I got a Bleacher Report notification. Yes. Everyone's talking about. That's just hilarious. Everybody's talking about Kawhi putting freaking Derek Favors on a poster. Bro, that shit was demonic. Look at that. Look, I'm not even talking about that to JD anymore. Like, I see your comment. I'm not talking about it. I've had enough of it at this point. All right. But yeah, look. Charlotte and Rhea, we'll talk. We'll see what happens with Charlotte and Rhea this Sunday at Hell in a Cell. I hope Rhea wins, but I expect Charlotte to win. And, we'll discuss that on Monday afternoon. Just a reminder, the Hell in a Cell review will be Monday afternoon, most likely, before Raw. And then we'll have the Raw stream a little bit in the evening. Monday's going to be a busy day, too. I'm looking at my calendar. That could be the day that the Dragon Ball Super manga comes out. So, that's going to be a hell of a day. Like I said, you guys are going to want to be subscribed, man. It's going to be a busy week on the channel. Next up, we had Jeff Hardy versus John Morrison. So, Hardy was talking to Matt Riddle backstage. And basically, Riddle was asking Hardy, since Hardy's a tag team legend with his brother Matt, of course, the Hardy Bros, he was asking Jeff for some advice of how he could be a good tag team partner for Randy Orton. And Hardy actually gave him advice saying, listen to Randy. Do what he tells you, because if you listen to him, it'll lead to success, because Randy Orton's one of the most successful superstars in WWE history. So we get Jeff Hardy versus John Morrison. right? And basically the big thing that happened here was Cedric Alexander Cedric's been going on this little thing where he's going after veterans, right? He just finished a feud with Shelton Benjamin. Now he's feuding with Cedric Alexander, and Cedric kept distracting Jeff at ringside. The match was whatever, but after the match, Hardy got distracted by Cedric Alexander. Morrison was able to pick up the victory, and then Hardy gets on the mic and he challenges Alexander to a match just after having a match of his own. And he tells Cedric, if you can beat me, I will retire right here, right now. So all of a sudden, you have Hardy putting his career on the line. And I knew the second I heard this, I was like, Hardy's not going to retire. It's because they have nothing else for this guy right now. They're trying to make this interesting, But what was I saying? So Hardy, because I was like, we know that WWE's going back on the road next month, unless Hardy was, about to get released or something like that. Because we know that he's been doing these crazy releases these last couple months. But unless Hardy was gonna get released, I knew Hardy wasn't gonna, Hardy was gonna lose this match because WWE's going back on the road, and Hardy's been talking about how he wants to bring back his old theme song when WWE gets the fans back. And we all know how famous Hardy's old theme is. You guys have heard me sing it on the podcast in the past. So when we do get back to live crowds, no matter how Hardy's booked, it's still going to be a big moment when he does come back with his old theme song. So there was no way he was going to lose this match out of nowhere. It says they had really nothing else planned. So Hardy beat Alexander in a short match. He hit Alexander went for a big move off the top. Hardy was able to counter with the twist of fate and swanton bomb. So for now, Hardy gets the win, and he remains with the company, even though it was kind of his fault. He was the one that put his career on the line for no reason. So we already talked about the whole Eva Marie situation. I don't want to talk about it anymore. It's just sad, really, that this is what you're doing with Naomi. That out of all the people you could add Eva Marie, and do this whatever, out of all the people you could have had do that segment tonight, you picked Naomi. That was the person you picked. I was hoping that Naomi, especially now that Lana's no longer there, right? I was hoping that, maybe Naomi could get a push, right? You guys know I want Naomi to be a player there in the Raw Women's division and potentially fighting for the title because that's how good she is. Instead, you have her lose in 3 minutes to, Viper Nevin. But look, I already ranted on this earlier. I really don't want to spend any more time talking about Piper Niven and how she has no identity and how Eva Marie has brought us back to the Divas era. I really don't want to talk about that anymore. So, yeah. If you guys missed that rant from earlier, just go back to early in the podcast. But speaking on, and like I said, there was a lot of the women's division featured on the show, but none of it was good. None of it mattered. So, you had Natalya and Tamina, right? They were training in a ring backstage, you're right, while Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke are having a photo shoot. And Natalya and Tamina, of course, since they're training in the ring, it causes noise. So Mandy and Dana come over to say, could you keep the noise down? You're making it hard for us to feature on our photo shoot. Natalya and Tamina start going on about, this is why you two will never be women's tag team champions. Because you're way more focused on how you look, instead of how you wrestle in the ring. To an extent, is kind of true, right? But it didn't make sense because Tamina was over here saying the same thing. And we all know that Tamina is not a good wrestler. Like, someone name me one good Tamina match. I can't think of one. I really can't. I actually sit here and I can't think of a good Tamina match. So basically these two teams are now going at it back and forth, right? And clearly this is going to lead to a match between the two teams. Not that I have any excitement or desire to see it, but clearly, you know, this is where they're going with the Women's Tag Team Championships. So Natalya, at least what Natalya said made sense, because Natalya's not a bad wrestler. I don't care for Natalya at all. I've never really cared for Natalya, but I will give Natalya her respect here. She is a good wrestler, you know. But anyway, the two teams start brawling inside the ring until officials came to break them up. It didn't look good at all, if I'm being honest. It did not look good, because you could see that they weren't really punching each other, right? They were holding back quite a bit. It was like they were just doing it just to get the segment done. If I was in that situation, I would have redone the segment completely, because I was like, there's no way a segment like that should look that bad, especially the in-ring part of it, where you could see that they weren't even trying to hit each other. But hey, it's just bad. It really is sad, and you know that this is the women's tag team division. You can't have anything better right now. So I'm gonna play you guys a promo from Bobby Lashley. Lashley was backstage with his ladies and MVP, and he was interviewed, and he said how he talked about how he was going to execute McIntyre's title hopes. So I'm going to play that promo for you guys quickly.
Celebrating with the champ as we do. Man, you know, I'm always going to take care of you, baby.
Excuse me, Bobby. Do you have any insight as to why Drew McIntyre is facing AJ Styles tonight?
I got you. First things first, why are you so rude? Why do you always come in here without knocking? And why do you insist on blatantly disrespecting the champ? You address him as the almighty WWE champion. Do I make myself clear?
Yes, sir. My apologies to
Shut up, man. Now you just make it even more awkward. Look, regarding Drew McIntyre and AJ Styles, how this match came about, I don't know, nor do I care. And the champ especially doesn't. You see him working tonight? No, of course not, because he's the champ, and that's one of the perks that comes with being the champ. Now, if Drew McIntyre is foolish enough to take a match with someone the caliber of AJ Styles 1 week from Hell in a Cell, that's his business, and none of the champ's. The only thing the champ is concerned about is Hell in a Cell. And Drew McIntyre will finally run out of opportunities to face the almighty WWE champion.
When Drew steps into Hell in a Cell, he's gonna wish that he never uttered the name Bobby Lashley. Because when I grab him and I break his face on that cell and throw his lifeless body around like a rag doll, you remember, he asked for it. And I heard him compare himself earlier to William Wallace. And I actually like the comparison. Because just like William Wallace, the same thing's gonna happen to Drew, because Drew has committed a capital offense. His crime? Trying to take my WWE championship. So when we're locked inside that Hell in a Cell, I am going to publicly execute Drew. And I'm gonna mount his head on a stake.
So decent promo there from Lashley. Like I said, I've like, you know, I like that Lashley speaking more on the microphone. I would still leave more of the promo duties to MVP, because that's what he does a really good job when he's the focus of those promos. But Lashley coming in and giving, you know, his opinion, right? And not talking for too long, you know, it works. It works. So I hope that Lashley does retain this Sunday, because, and I do have confidence. I do have some confidence that Lashley will retain on Sunday, and I'll tell you guys why in a little bit. So let me look in the chat real quick. BS1 says, wow, it's like you watch NXT and you see this amazing talent. They go to Raw and it's a hot dumpster fire with David Arquette toasting marshmallows, yelling, I can I don't know, man. I like this BS1 guy. I think he needs to stick around. You know, he has a nice little comedic relief to the chat. You know, not saying there's not nobody funny in our chat room, but you know, I like these puns he's making. Casey says, Hell in a Cell matches that took place in the month of June. Mankind versus Undertaker, which I would argue is the greatest Hell in a Cell match of all time, in my opinion. Triple H versus Kevin Nash, Bad Blood 03. Triple H versus HBK, Bad Blood 04. Batista and HHH Vengeance 05. You know, Casey giving us some little fun facts, you know. But I will say those are some of the greatest Hell in a Cell matches ever. I don't know if Roman versus Ray or Bobby versus Drew will be on that level. I think Bobby versus Drew does have the potential to be on that level, but they're going to have to do a lot, especially remembering that there's no fans in there. This will be the final WWE pay-per-view without fans because we know that WWE is going back on tour in July. But still, I expect Bobby and Drew to absolutely kill it inside Hell in a Cell. I just don't know if they'll be, you know, one of the greatest Hell in a Cell matches ever, right? But anyway, getting back to it, we had Alexa Bliss versus Nia Jax. Look, like I said, this match wasn't good at all, right? And I'll keep reminding you guys, I want to get behind Alexa's character, but you're not going to be able to get me behind it, especially when she's going up against freaking Nia Jax of all people. This is Nia Jax we're talking about. One of the worst wrestlers in the entire company. And I don't care what anybody says. You know, it's just the truth. So, Alexa versus Nia. It felt good to see Alexa, you know, back in the ring because we rarely get to see her wrestle ever. But still, it was just like, ugh. But let me look at my notes real quick. My notes are here. We go. So, basically, we saw Bliss. He channeled her inner Undertaker at some point because Nia went for a leg drop, but Bliss then sat up, like the Undertaker. Then she climbed the top turnbuckle, but then Reginald distracted her. So we're back to having Reginald be a distracting in matches. Like, I don't see why anybody working for this company would think that this is good stuff. Who the fuck wants to see Reginald interfere in someone else's match? Like, why are they still doing this? It doesn't add any value to anything they do here. No matter if it's Sasha Banks or Bianca or Nia Jax and Shayna or a tag team match, every time Reginald, decides to, interject himself, it annoys me. It's just like, why? Why is this guy still on TV? Like, when will they get the moment that this guy is not it? He doesn't add anything of value or substance to Monday Night Raw. So Reginald, even though Red tried to distract Alexa was able to, hit a spike DDT on Nia Jax. Then she hit Twisted Bliss and tried to go for the cover to get the win, but Reggie pulled her off, which caused a distraction. So then Alexa stayed down Reginald for a good amount of time, and it looked like to the point where Reginald started to get put in some kind of trance or spell, right? But still, when Nia had eventually recovered, she broke her stare, and, Reginald was back to normal. So I guess the whole point of this match is now they want to really showcase Alexa's powers, right? Her being able to put people in trances and, stuff like that. And, her having this kind of like, I guess you could say endurance, where she could pull like stuff off, like where she stands off like the Undertaker or, things. And I guess it's interesting. It just pisses me off that they waited 2 months to finally have Alexa get back in the ring and showcase, these wacky abilities and powers. Similar to what The Fiend was doing when they actually booked him properly, which was rare. But you guys get the point I'm trying to make. So I don't know where they go with this. We do know it's confirmed that this Sunday we're going to be getting Alexa versus Shayna. And I do expect Alexa to win the match. Right? It's just going to be interesting to see what kind of Shayna do we get. Will Shayna be back to normal? we'll see come out with a whole different look because of her encounter with Lily, right? So that's going to be interesting because a lot of people have been asking what happened to Shayna. What did Lily do to Shayna? So I'm not interested in this match because I like where they're going with the story. I just want to see if they actually did something to Shayna's character. Are we going to see a different Shayna Baszler this Sunday? But we'll see what happens. That is the match set up for this Sunday, Alexa versus Shayna, and we'll see where it goes. Let me see. Looks like somebody said something in the chat, but hold on. Because Lily versus Chucky Hell in a Cell match. Well, that's a match I actually want to see, bro. Give me that one. And I do agree with you, Tokyo, where you say Hell in a Cell should not be a yearly pay-per-view match. I completely agree with you on that one. We had the New Day versus RK Bro, right? And, basically we know what's been going on. Kofi Kingston, like I'll say this again, Kofi Kingston should be the WWE Championship picture. And if it's up to me, I just want to make this clear once again. I would have Bobby Lashley retain the WWE Championship inside that Hell in a Cell match against Drew. And I'm pretty confident it's going to happen. I'll tell you guys why in a little bit. But I would have Lashley retain against Drew, and then I would do Kofi Kingston versus Bobby Lashley at Money in the Bank. And hopefully we can get Lesnar versus Lashley at SummerSlam. It's like it's up in the air right now because we've heard the reports of WWE. They're discussing having Lashley return, but nothing's concrete as of right now. But I would definitely do that match at SummerSlam. Like I said, giving us the card of Cena versus Roman, Lashley versus Drew, and Sasha versus Bianca. Those three matches make SummerSlam worth it. Just based off that, just based off those three matches, SummerSlam's a must watch. But still, like I said, I've said that the storyline and the dynamic between Randy Orton and Matt Riddle has been probably the best thing on Monday Night Raw these last couple of weeks, and I've enjoyed where it's gone. And I'm hoping that it leads to Randy Orton and Riddle going after the Raw Tag Team Champions, AJ and Almas. Right, we know that AJ and Almas right now they are in a feud with the Viking Raiders, and I believe it has been confirmed that those two teams are fighting this Sunday at Hell in a Cell. But I'm not sure they made the official announcement. But I believe that match is taking place this Sunday. But I do expect AJ and Almas to return. And then I would have Orton and Matt Riddle be the next two challenge for the Raw Tag Team titles, either at Money in the Bank or SummerSlam. Right? But, we know Riddle and Orton have been feuding with the New Day over the past month. So we got a tag team match tonight, and this was a great match. This was a fantastic tag team match, between four really good wrestlers. I really don't have to say much. But before the match, Orton went up to Riddle backstage, and Orton told Riddle that, stop trying to be me. Just be yourself, and everything will work out fine. So really good advice there from Orton to his tag team partner. So, going near the end here, skipping. Woods had Riddle on the top rope when we returned from a second break. Kingston tagged in and they hit a combo superplex and splash for a near fall, but then Orton broke up the pin. Then they did a double stomp Doomsday device, which looked really nasty, right? But Riddle kicked out, but he kicked out using the bridge, right? The bridge. The bridge exercise you guys do, it's an ab exercise. So he did do the bridge, which was pretty impressive because you don't see that much today, especially in WWE wrestling. So then Woods was punishing Orton in the corner, and Woods went for the honor roll and Orton was able to counter into a beautiful RKO. I say this all the time. Orton's, counters into the RKO are the best counters into a finisher ever. I love the counters he does. They're so innovative, and they come out of nowhere, legitimately. So Orton, reversing Woods' honor roll into an RKO looked beautiful as it ended the match. 1, 2, 3. Orton had a very short celebration with Riddle, as he more just wanted to leave the ring. But they look like they're back on the same page, which, is what we expected. And I do expect Orton and Riddle to be the next in line for the Raw Tag Team Championships once AJ and Almas most likely defeat the Viking Raiders in their next Raw Tag Team title defense. So good stuff here. Really good match. Like I said, the dynamic between Orton and Riddle is probably the best thing on Raw right now. The New Day did their thing. And hopefully Kingston goes back to the main event scene after Hell in a Cell this Sunday. Kingston did get confronted by MVP for the second straight week. After the loss, MVP tried to build up some kind of conflict between Kingston and Woods, because MVP kept talking about how it was MVP that or not MVP, it was Xavier Woods that got pinned tonight and not you. Right? It's Xavier Woods that's cost you victories and keeping you from becoming the best version of yourself, keeping you from re-entering that WWE title picture in the main event where you belong. Kingston was having none of it. He threatened MVP, said if he didn't get out of his way, that he would be walking on one good leg instead of two. He also said that the reason why he fights so hard is because of his friends and his family. And Xavier Woods is his friend and family, so he would never turn his back on him. So MVP just left. And MVP, before he left, he told Kingston good luck in his match this Sunday at Hell in a Cell. But it was an insult because at the moment, Kingston doesn't have any match set up for Hell in a Cell, and I don't expect that. The New Day, they're not going after the Raw Tag Team Championships right now. Kingston doesn't really have anything else to do. So like I said, hopefully after Hell in a Cell, as long as Lashley retains, we'll get Kingston versus Lashley next. That should be the next feud for the WWE title, if you ask me. And hopefully that's where this is leading to. Next up, or almost last up, right? We had Elias versus Jaxson Ryker again. Look, Jaxson Ryker is now a babyface. I said this last week. You are never going to make Jaxson Ryker as a babyface believable. There's no way. Like, when we do get back on the road, WWE, they're not going to be able to get Jaxson Ryker cheered in front of the crowds. I just can't see it happening. No, there's no care for Jaxson Ryker. And people are not going to forget what Ryker said last year. During the political campaign about Donald Trump and Joe Biden and all that. So, no matter how hard you try to make people believe in Jaxson Ryker being a babyface, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And then tonight you decided to do another pointless rematch with Elias. Like, where's the storyline going? Last week you had Elias walk out on Jaxson Ryker, allowing himself to get disqualified. And you decided to do the same thing tonight. Like, why? What's the point? Wait, where's this leading to? You're not building up interest in this feud. It's not like people are typing on the computer saying, oh, I cannot wait to see Ryker beat Elias in the ring clean once he can finally keep Elias from running from him. Like, what? You're doing this just to waste time, and it does nothing for the show. Everything you do on Raw, everything you do each week should be the build up for next week and pay-per-views. They keep interest going. Nothing this feud is bringing us is, making Raw better in the long run. Nothing. There is no care for Jaxson Ryker as a babyface. There's no care for Elias here. There was no point. You should have just kept them as a team and, kept them in the tag team division. I don't see what's the point here. I don't. You're not doing anything for Monday Night Raw in the long run. Just making the show worse. So, Elias, after he, walked out and got another disqualification, Ryker was interviewed backstage, so I'll play that for you.
Jaxson, Ryker, congratulations on your victory over Elias via countout. Now, you used to walk with Elias. Now, who do you walk with?
Well, I mentioned it earlier that it seems that Elias wants to walk alone. But that's totally okay with me because the more I realize, the more I understand that Elias was holding me back. And you see, now Jaxson Ryker stands alone. And that's not such a bad thing. You see this right here? Battle scars. Battle. You see this right here? Battle scars. Battle wounds. You know what that means? I'm ready for whatever you have to bring to me, Elias. Whatever you want to bring, a war, a battle, whatever it is, know that I will not walk away. I will not run. You made a mistake. You've awakened a beast. And as this sign says right here, humble and hungry. Oh, Jaxson Ryker's hungry. He's hungry for victory, and I'm coming for you.
Whatever. Like I said, like Jaxson Ryker as a babyface is not believable. So what? Is this the way it's going to be? Elias is just going to keep running from Ryker? It's not going to build any interest. It's not, because nobody really cares about Elias like that. And you've done nothing to make us care about Jaxson Ryker. So you turning Ryker to a babyface and all of a sudden expecting us to cheer for him, it's not gonna happen. It's a foolish goal and it's a foolish fantasy. It's a foolish fantasy, man. Like, coming out of that promo, I don't really care. I'm not interested in Jaxson Ryker anymore. So it's just like, stop wasting our time. Stop. End the feud and just be done with it. Right? End the feud. Have Ryker get his payback on Elias. Whatever you want. You know, however you want to do it. And then move them on to something that we'll actually be interested in. Like, there was no Sheamus tonight. There was nothing with the U.S. Championship. I know that Sheamus is dealing with the broken nose and everything, but we still don't have a number one contender for Sheamus' U.S. title. They didn't even mention Sheamus at all and his two challengers in Ricochet and Humberto Carrillo. Instead, you want to waste time with, this bullcrap and Eva Marie. This is the type of thing that makes Raw unbearable. The level of care to go in the storyline where everything just is last minute. So, getting to the main event, we had Drew McIntyre and the Viking Raiders versus AJ Styles, Almas, and Bobby Lashley. This was supposed to be Drew versus AJ. And so when I saw Drew coming out around the 10:20 with about 40 minutes left in the show, I was like, okay, looks like Drew and AJ are going to get a lot of time to end the show. And we know how good Drew and AJ are. They have great chemistry. They're two of the best wrestlers in the world. So I expected, all right, we're going to get a banger of a main event. So we had Lashley come out, right? After Drew came out, Lashley came out and sat on the couch, right, with his ladies, ready to watch the main event. AJ came out with Almas. Almost got a little bit distracted by all the hot girls. They were sitting with Lashley and MVP. So AJ had to get him back on track. And then the main event started. So the match for the most part was good. Or at least the first part of it. So we see that AJ, he dumped McIntyre out of the ring and rammed into the ring post. And, they kept going at it. So then, as McIntyre was starting to build momentum and get do his normal babyface comeback, Lashley attacked him, what's called a DQ. So then the Vikings came out to make the save while Almas put Styles out of the ring. So then we come back from break, and we see that the match was turned into a 6-man tag team match. Lashley wasn't at ringside for the beginning of the match because he had to go backstage and change out of his suit, which he done pretty quickly. So Eric and Ivar with the of course with the 3-on-2 advantage, they were doing their thing, and then Lashley ran down and attacked McIntyre once he had changed into his ring gear. So then Lashley came in and started dominating Eric in the corner. Then Almas and Ivar ended up as the legal men. and we see Almas knock Ivar down. Then we come back from another commercial break. So this was the third commercial break in this segment. No surprise, because remember, I told you guys earlier this started with 40 minutes left in the show around 10:20. So after we came out from the third commercial break, we see Lashley tagging Almas back in as they're dominating the baby faces. So then we see basically McIntyre and Almas. They had a stare down, but then Almas grabbed McIntyre by the throat and threw him. Then Almas took out Eric and Ivar by throwing them over the barricade. So then McIntyre was by himself, but McIntyre was able to gain the advantage, and he actually won the match for his team by hitting a Claymore kick on not Eric, not Ivar, but he hit a Claymore kick on Bobby Lashley, the man who he's facing this Sunday at Hell in a Cell for the WWE Championship. So they have Drew hit Lashley with the Claymore and pin him clean in the ring. 1, 2, 3. So here you have your WWE Champion losing in a 6-man tag team match 6 days before a pay-per-view. Great job there, WWE. Great job. The only thing that I can say that this means in a good way is it's most likely, or it makes it more likely now that Lashley's going to retain this Sunday at Hell in a Cell. Because why would you have Drew Claymore Lashley and pin him clean if you weren't saving that for this Sunday? We know that usually a lot of the time, not all the time, but there's a lot of times in WWE when someone gets the upper hand on their opponent for a pay-per-view, that most likely means that the opponent is going to win, right? So hopefully this likely means that Lashley will retain this Sunday at Hell in a Cell, but we don't know. We don't know. But that's definitely the right decision. I wouldn't be surprised at McIntyre winning because, as the babyface here, he struggled against Lashley these last couple months in his attempts to regain the WWE Championship. But the right decision needs to be Lashley winning. Lashley should win this Sunday at Hell in a Cell, go on to face Kofi at Money in the Bank, and then face Brock, hopefully, if Brock's back in time for SummerSlam. That should be what WWE does. I know Anthony told me, I believe it was yesterday, he told me that he would have Johnny Gargano take the NXT Championship from Karrion Kross. Karrion Kross comes up, and we get Karrion Kross versus McIntyre at SummerSlam. As great as a match that would be, the right direction is having Lashley remain WWE Champion and hopefully give us the Brock Dream match at SummerSlam. That should be the direction that everybody in WWE should be aiming towards, unless they can't get Lesnar for SummerSlam, which I would be shocked at, right? And, McIntyre's had his time as WWE Champion. I would have McIntyre lose, and then when we have the WWE draft after SummerSlam, I would send McIntyre over to Smackdown, and then you can have him feud with, Cena, if Cena's there by the time, Roman, and definitely there's a lot you could do with McIntyre on SmackDown, in my opinion. So that's what I would do, personally, the WWE Championship scene going forward. Hopefully I'm right. Hopefully Lashley retains. If he doesn't, it's gonna be sad, and it's gonna actually piss me off more, than anything. Lashley needs to retain this Sunday, and I hate how I have to say that every single pay-per-view when it comes to these go-home shows. But it's nervous. It's nervous when it comes to a guy like Bobby Lashley. But hopefully that's the case, and hopefully Lashley's able to get the job done and retain against McIntyre this Sunday, and hopefully that's more likely now because I feel like it wouldn't be lucky. Or it wouldn't be lucky like that because they had McIntyre. They scripted McIntyre to Claymore Lashley, the WWE Champion, and pin him clean. So hopefully Lashley's able to get his revenge for that this Sunday at Hell in a Cell. But we'll see. We'll see. I expect it to be a banger of a match, right? Like I said, WWE's pay-per-views are not the problem with WWE. It's the creative aspects and the people running Raw and SmackDown, especially Monday Night Raw. Those are the people that you need to talk to, and clear out and absolutely change everything. right? But we'll see what happens with Hell in a Cell this Sunday. I see Jeffrey DY. I don't recognize you either. Are you new to the channel, Jeffrey? If you guys are new, I know we have BS1 who is new to the channel who joined us for the first time tonight. So Jeffrey, I don't know if you're new, but let me know right now. But Jeffrey says, no more prestige titles anyway. Roman's the only guy that they care for, which, I can't disagree with you there, especially when it comes to the point about Roman's the only guy that they care for. Jeffrey says, spoiler, Lesnar may interfere in Hell in a Cell WWE Championship match. That's what WWE would do. Well, you can't really say spoiler unless, you have sources to back it up, right? I would not be surprised if Lesnar came back this Sunday to spoil the Hell in a Cell match, but I don't expect him to. It would be hilarious if Lesnar came back, F5, both Lashley and McIntyre, and then Lashley gets the win by taking advantage of Lesnar's F5 by, putting his arm on Lesnar while the referee made the count. I feel like that would be hilarious, and a great way to set the stage for the Lashley and Lesnar feud. But, so we'll see what happens. We still need Lashley to come back now. I mean, not to come back. We still need him to retain against McIntyre before we can talk anything about Lesnar, or any of that other stuff. But other than that, guys, we'll see what happens this Sunday at Hell in a Cell. I believe right now there's about 4 confirmed matches. We have the Universal match with Roman and Rey, the WWE Championship with Lesnar and, McIntyre and Lashley. We have the Charlotte versus Rhea and Bianca versus Bayley. And then we also have Alexa versus Shayna now. So that's about 5 matches confirmed for Hell in a Cell. So I expect probably 2 more. Most likely the Raw Tag Team Championship match with AJ and Almas versus the Viking Raiders. That's most likely going to happen. And that's really all I can think of for right now. So maybe this will be actually a shorter pay-per-view this time. It won't be too long. But still, lots to see what happens with this weekend. But even if Hell in a Cell is a great show, it won't make up for the fact that Raw is absolute garbage. Right? But yeah. So let me look at chat one more time. Jeffrey says, I wasn't new. I subscribed to the channel 3 months ago thanks to somebody who compared you to another podcaster. Hey, I don't know who compared me to another podcaster. Maybe they were comparing me to JD or BC Amplified. But I appreciate it. I appreciate the love and support, man. I try to do my best. I try to entertain you guys while also educating you guys on pro wrestling. But either way, man, thanks for being here. Thanks for your support, man. Thanks to BS1 for the support, too. I know you're a new subscriber. But other than that, there's really nothing else to really talk about. I don't want to talk about Eva Marie anymore. I really just want to go to sleep. Casey asks, have I seen the Sasha Banks interview from last Friday? I have not. I've heard about it. Sasha talking a lot about the comparisons between her being Mercedes and Sasha Banks. I saw a couple of clips on it on Twitter, but I haven't watched the full thing yet. But definitely, I will check that out at some point. King of, I don't know if I'm saying your name right. King of Huiso Mundo. Hopefully I said your name correctly. If I mispronounce it, please forgive me. I don't mean to be disrespectful or anything like that. I'm not the best when it comes to pronouncing names. But let me know, are you new to the channel? Like I said, when we have new people in the chat, I like to, put the spotlight on you guys and let me know, how you guys found the channel. Because I love seeing new people here. Because when we see new people here, that means we're growing. So, King. Oh, so you're new here. So we have another new subscriber today. So we have BS1 who's new, and we have King of Huiso Mundo. So welcome to the family, man. Welcome to the family. We do Raw, Smackdown, WWE pay-per-views for the most part. So I also do anime. So definitely there's something here for all of you guys. So definitely welcome to the family, man. BS1, what did you say? You said Brock coming back, that would be a great idea. This is Raw. Great ideas fade away in Vince land. Do you think Vince got Eva pregnant? That's why she's on TV. If Vince got Eva pregnant, those 6-pack abs that Eva got, are going to go away pretty quickly. That's the only thing, that's the only highlight Eva has on Raw. She has better 6-pack abs than most people. Like, her abs tonight look absolutely fire. But everything else about her absolutely sucks. But, yeah, but Casey, like I said, I haven't watched the full Sasha Banks interview yet, but I will get to it at this point. Or at some point. Maybe I'll watch it before I go to sleep tonight, But, yeah, so basically, just let you guys know one more time. Hopefully, we will have a SmackDown review this weekend. Hopefully, I have a lot to catch up on when it comes to videos. Like, a lot to catch up on. And it's going to be a busy weekend because, we have Hell in a Cell. We'll have the Hell in a Cell review most likely happening Monday afternoon because I won't be able to go live this Sunday night. Most likely for Money in the Bank and SummerSlam, we'll have pay-per-view reviews on the same night of the show. But for Hell in a Cell this weekend, Hell in a Cell's review will most likely be Monday afternoon before Raw. And then we'll have the Monday Night Raw review next week right after Monday Night Raw goes off the air. So, yeah, those are the big things. So, like I said, hopefully we'll have our SmackDown review this weekend. And then Hell in a Cell review will be Monday afternoon, right before Raw. And then we'll have the Raw review at our normal time like we do every single week. I will quickly mention... I will quickly mention, because I see Mundo's talking about NXT and the William Regal situation. I know that Tuesday, well, it technically is Tuesday now, based on when I'm streaming. It's about to be 2 a.m. here soon. But if you guys didn't know, they have been heavily teasing that, William Regal, he's lost control of NXT, and he's been the GM for 7 years, which is a long-ass time. And he's done a really good job. Him and Triple H, what they've done with NXT for the most part has been good, really good. But, they have been teasing that William Regal could be leaving NXT. He could be vacating the GM spot, right? And he said at the end of NXT TakeOver in Your House on Sunday that maybe it's time for a change. So Regal is going to be giving a State of the NXT address on NXT Tuesday night. And with the big report is that Samoa Joe is coming back to WWE. So I will mention this quickly. Samoa Joe, he was released right after WrestleMania. And, I ranted about it because here you had Samoa Joe, a guy that should have been a bigger star than he was. He did a great job commentating because he was the main commentator on Raw for most of the pandemic alongside Michael Cole and Byron Saxton. And Samoa Joe, not Michael Cole. It was Tom Phillips and Byron Saxton. And Joe did a great job. He was really the only reason why you would listen to commentary every single Monday on Raw. Because Phillips and Byron Saxton, they're very cringe on their own. But Samoa Joe added the personality and the flavor that commentating team needed. So, him getting released, right, not only from commentating, but then knowing that he was never going to step back into the ring, it was sad and disappointing. It was like, why the hell is WWE letting go to a guy that should have already been a, world champion on the main roster? The fact that Samoa Joe never won a world title on the main roster is disgusting in my eyes. I can't believe it. I can't believe that they never did that. But Samoa Joe, I thought for sure he would most likely end up in AEW, but based off the reports we got today, Samoa Joe is back in WWE, but he won't be back on the main roster. He's signing a deal exclusively to NXT. And it is kind of surprising because it's rare that you see someone who was just released, sign back with the same company in a short period of time. Maybe, it was because his contract was too big. I don't know the schematics behind it, but I am glad to see Samoa Joe staying back with WWE. Because you guys know I'm not the biggest AEW guy anyway, and I loved Samoa Joe. And, it would have hurt to see Samoa go to AEW and see someone with that much talent just be able just given to AEW. But he is signing a deal exclusive to WWE NXT, so, they could put him on commentary with Wade Barrett and Vic Joseph and Beth Phoenix. They could have him wrestle, which is what I would love to do. There's so many matches you can do with Samoa Joe, right? Samoa Joe versus Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, Timothy Thatcher, Adam Cole, Karrion Kross. That's the one I would love to see. You can always reopen the rivalry with Finn Balor, because Balor's not back on the main roster. There is a chance, especially with the WWE draft coming back up, that Balor could return to the main roster. But, they could always reopen the Balor and Joe feud. That's one of the best feuds for the NXT Championship ever, if you ask me. Those two had some bangers of matches. They could do Joe versus Pete Dunne, Kyle O'Reilly. There's so many matches you can do with Joe. So, hopefully he does come back as a wrestler and we get to see the Samoan fighting machine back in action. Or it is likely, or, maybe Samoa Joe becomes the guy to replace William Regal. It is ironic that he signed his deal the same day that William Regal announces that he's having a State of NXT address, and everybody's talking about William Regal potentially leaving NXT and giving up the GM spot. So if Joe is coming in to become the new GM of NXT, that would be great. That would be great. But I really want to see Samoa back as a wrestler. I feel like we all want to see him back in that position because that's where he belongs. But I'm more just happy that he's signing back with WWE, especially with NXT. Because he should have never been released in the first point. It's a joke that Joe even got released. Joe's already been at least a world champion once on the main roster. BS1, I'm going to look into the comments. BS1 says, this was dope. Good looking out. Glad to be here. I'm going to go watch Mickey James on reruns of Impact. Then pray that Vince doesn't go rehire Sable for heaven. Wrestling shake. Oh, that's hilarious. Jeffrey says, if Raw ratings continue to get lower, USA Network may step in and boot Raw off the air. SmackDown may have been decent ratings, but it went this high because of Roman and the Usos. Yeah. I just feel like the chances of USA booting Raw off the network is rare. I feel like it would be a shock. Definitely in a couple years when it's time for WWE to talk about, the re-up their deal with the USA Network, then I could see that happening, but I just don't see them doing that beforehand. Especially with how much money USA is paying WWE, especially for how long, Raw has been on the USA Network. Jeffrey says NXT's true aura was left because of Morrow's absence and the TV deal they have with the USA Network. Yes, that was true. I do agree. Morrow's leaving NXT really hurt them. I wish they never had done that. Plus, NXT should have never really, had stopped being on the network. NXT being moved to the USA Network because of AEW and Vince wanting to rival AEW was never a smart decision. NXT should have stayed on the WWE Network, which, is now Peacock, of course, but, it should have never been changed. That change should have never been made, right? And now, NXT, even though NXT is good for the most part, it doesn't have that same vibe that it once did. I was watching NXT TakeOver in your house, and I was thinking, NXT, they got to get away from the Performance Center. As soon as WWE gets back on tour in July, I've heard the reports that they're not returning to Full Sail, which I don't really understand why, but hopefully they find, a new, really good home for them, because NXT being in the Performance Center is just old at this point. It worked for the first couple months, because they were in the pandemic, of course, but just hearing that crowd in your house, it just didn't sound that as good. They were dead for that main event. And, so NXT needs to get back in front of a full live crowd, at least similar to the size of Full Sail, if, they truly are not going back to Full Sail universally. I don't know if they're going to start touring and be in front of live fans like Raw and SmackDown is, but still, we'll see. But I think it's imperative now that they get out of the Performance Center as soon as possible. NBA YouTube says his favorite feud in NXT was Samoa Joe versus Shinsuke Nakamura. NXT TakeOver Toronto 2016. That is a great match. That is a great match, man. BS Wise says if WWE keeps rehashing zombies and playing with dolls, AEW will hit the mark for a bit. I love the analogies, BS1. But, yeah, that's my thoughts on the Samoa Joe situation. Just wanted to mention that to you guys really quick. But other than that, guys, that's about all I got for you guys today. I'm going to get out of here. Starting to feel that fatigue, especially after reviewing for 2 hours. But still, man, look, we have a pay-per-view this Sunday, and this show didn't do a good job of reminding you and hyping you up for that pay-per-view this Sunday. I'll watch, of course, and do my best to cover it like I always do. But, man, Eva Marie coming back tonight really just took the soul out of this show. This show is bad most weeks, but just Eva Marie being back and that garbage that they did tonight, it just like, like going back 5-6 years, and it's just, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. But let me know what you guys thought of Raw. I know what most of you guys are going to say. But still, man, I always love hearing what you guys say in the comment section. So let me guys know what you guys thought of Raw. What's your predictions for Hell in a Cell? One more time, we'll try to do a SmackDown review this weekend if we have time. But it's going to be a very busy weekend because we have Dragon Ball Super, with the manga, My Hero, so many things going on. And also, I'm going to try to stream Kakarot throughout the week if, when I have time. But yeah. So let me know what you guys thought on that. We have the Hell in a Cell review, which will most likely be streamed on Monday afternoon. And then we'll have the Raw review back at our normal time that same night. So lots of stuff happening. So make sure you guys leave a like on the video if you guys enjoyed. Make sure to subscribe if you guys are new to the channel by clicking the big red button. And also hitting the bell right next to my name, Fitz TV. So you guys are notified every time I post a new video. Thank you to everyone who live tweeted me as always. If you guys want to talk to me about wrestling or anime, tweet me. The link is in the description down below. You can find my social media handles. Thank you guys for everything. I'm going to get out of here. You guys stay safe and healthy, y'all. Peace.